Okay, I have now completed the other side, lower side of this, and I've got my 2 11-0 strung on. And now we're gonna attach the clasp. So we are going to work one side at a time, and you can use some French wire bullion or a wire guardian, and also if your clasp will allow, you can use an 11-0 seed bead instead of the bullion or the wire guardian. But the wire guardian, what I've done is I've strung one end on, and this channel here is open, so I'm just going to run my needle back through the other end here. And what this does is it protects that wire from fraying. And then I'm going to string on half of the clasp, so I'm just going to string the loop on over the wire guardian. And then I'm going to sew it back into my work here. And all we're going to do is just go back through here and pull it. And what will happen is that we'll put the other in over here. So all I'm going to do now is just go through my work, sew it back through, do a half hitch knot, which again, a half hitch knot is where you take your needle up under a thread. I don't know if you can get to it. Up under a thread. And then run your needle back through the loop that you've created. Pull it. And then I'm going to run it up through the work and back through that wire guardian at least one more time. I'm going to trace it back down through the work here one more time. Just until you feel that that has been reinforced. And come up through here, back up through the wire guardian. So I'm going to bring it through the beads and catch it through the tube there on the end. Be sure and run it through the clasp and through the other end of the wire guardian and back down in your work. Half hitch knot again and sew this thread through the work a little bit and snip the thread. And then you repeat for the other side. This is what it's going to look like. And what we'll do is we'll just flip it over and you'll have it for the other end there. And then you repeat for the other side of the necklace. Okay, now we are ready to add a pendant or a bead to the center of the necklace, and I did fail to mention that in the beginning of the video, but I have given you several options of bally beads that I've used or thought would look good with this, and you can find those on antiesbeads.com. And so now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the stop bead from one tail from the center, and then we're going to thread our needle. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to run our needle through that 3mm center bead. And I did find this step just a little confusing, so if I stammer, it's because I'm still confused. So just, but it does work. Next thing we're going to do is pick up 2 11-0s, and then we're going to run those through the 2 seed beads here on the lower end on the opposite side. And then we're going to pick up 1 seed bead and run it back through these 2. And basically what we're doing is we're almost giving it that little, tail that we've been doing all along. Okay, so now we're going to pick up another 11-0, and we're going to go back through these 2 11-0s that we picked up when we went through that 3mm. And that stop bead is still there, but we won't remove it until we work that side, because we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So once we pick up that 1 11-0, we're going to pick up 3 11-0s, and this is when we're going to add the little focal bead. So we're going to pick up 3 more 11-0s. Oops, I just unthreaded my needle. I unthreaded my needle, so I just got to thread this back. So we picked up 3 11-ohs. Now I'm going to run it through my focal bead, and I'm using this little butterfly bally bead. I'm going to run that through. I'm going to pick up an 11-oh, and then I'm going to run back through the bally bead without this 11-oh on the end is going to stop the thread from coming out. And then we're going to run back up through these 3 11-ohs that we added. Okay, so now we have half of the center of the pendant here, and what we're going to do is we're going to run it through the beadwork and then retrace our steps at least one more time through here. Okay, what I did is I retraced my thread through here, and then I went back up and sewed back through the work and did a couple of half hitch knots and then snipped my thread. So now I am on the other tail, and I just flipped my work over so I could work this direction. And I removed the stop bead. So now what we're going to do, just as we did on the first side, is we're going to run our needle through this 3mm bead. And I'm going to pick up 2 11-ohs. Okay, I picked up 2 11-ohs, and I'm going to run it through the first and the second 11-oh added here. I picked up 1 11-oh, and I'm going to run it back through the 2 11-ohs that I picked up previously. And then I'm going to pick up 3 11-ohs, and we're going to run it back down through that focal bead again. And work your needle. Sometimes these hollow beads, it's kind of hard to get through right the first time. And then go back through. The end bead. And back up through the bead. And again, just travel back up through your beadwork. Back up through the 11-ohs that we added, and back through the beadwork and do a couple of half hitch knots to complete the necklace. So I'm just going to run it up through here, and then back up through these 3. Let's see if we get a little bit of a knot here. And then I'm going to run it back up through the beadwork, but it's going to look something like this. And then go back down through it again and reinforce it, and then run your back up through the work and do a couple of half hitch knots, and then you've completed your necklace.